Good afternoon, everybody. The time now is 12 o'clock, and I'd like to call to order the October 18th, 2022 school board meeting for the community conversation today. First, we'd like to start with the roll call. We'll start with my right, Area 1.
Gretchen Maliska.
Tiffany Severick, District 2.
Jennifer Thomas, District 3.
Graham Sacrison, District 4.
And I'm Dave Newkirk, District 5. Next, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's up here to my right, to your left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll read the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the North Thurston Public Schools resides on the traditional lands of the Nisqually people. The Nisqually have lived for and cared for these lands and waterways since time immemorial. We make the acknowledgments to open a space of recognition, inclusion, and respect for our sovereign tribal partners and all Indigenous students, families, and staff in our community. Next, we'll do adoption of the agenda. Superintendent Clemens, do we have any correspondence additions?
We have one addition. Tim Garchow from WASDA is here to make an announcement, and I believe Amy Blondin is going to kick off the community conversation. She'll have Tim come up at that point.
Okay. So with the addition, this is an action item. Do we have an adoption for the agenda?
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, so moved. So Superintendent Clemens, do we want to get straight into the event, or do you want to make the announcements first?
So I think Amy's walking up.
There we
so
go.
The board could just stay here for 1 minute, and then we will transition.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I'm a little shorter than I think this podium was intended for, so I will stand on my tiptoes. Welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Amy Blondin. I'm the Assistant Director of Communications for North Thurston Public Schools. I used to work for the State Department of Early Learning, so it's really fun to see some familiar faces from many years ago here today. Quick housekeeping, I do want to note that the presentation parts of today's conversation will be recorded and posted on the district's YouTube channel in the future. Not the table conversations, just the presentation pieces, so just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. And if you have not already gotten a lunch, please, at any time when you feel hungry, go grab yourself some food. We want this to be a comfortable and relaxed environment today. With that, Deb, do you want to turn it over for the...
Yeah, so Tim, if you could go up. Amy has, that microphone can be removed, and Tim contacted our office yesterday and asked for just a few minutes with the board.
Hi, board.
Aye.
It's good to see y'all. Thank you for letting me interrupt for a moment for an announcement. And community, my name is Tim Garshaw. I am the Executive Director for the Washington State School Directors Association. So we support all 295 school boards in Washington State, supporting 1.2 million children. So we also happen to be right next door, our headquarters. And so I wanted to come here personally to make this announcement. Board, you're incredible. We've had conversations over the last probably 6 years that we've been neighbors. Graham and I go back to, gosh, infancy in my administrative career. Good to see familiar faces in the audience, sir. When I was a superintendent at the Rainier School District and then also the Southside School District. So I've had the pleasure to work with all school boards in the state. I've been in the last year in over 75 school districts around the state, and to see the examples of leadership that our elected school officials and our superintendents as board and superintendent teams exhibit is phenomenal. Last year I gave a speech that highlighted 125 things beyond the normal running of a school district that board superintendent teams had to contend with during the pandemic. We listed them in a speech. That list, if you gave it to any administrator, any parent, any school board member, any legislator, it would be overwhelming. But it came in 3 of them a day over the course of a year, it seemed like, and they changed. But you did it. You dug in and you did it, and you honored the families in your community. You honored your students. You know that families always have been and always will be a child's first teacher. And what you've done like today with Community Connections is phenomenal. So your board submitted an application for Boards of Distinction, which is an award recognition program we do annually at WASDA. And so I want to announce, this will be public middle of next week, but your board is receiving a Board of Distinction in Washington State. So big round of applause for that. But I don't come to board meetings to announce a Board of Distinction, because I think there are 12 boards that have earned the Board of Distinction in the large school district category. Your score on your application was by far the highest of all large school districts. So you are the 2022 Board of the Year statewide. And you earned it. You keep your students, your staff, your families, and your community in the forefront of your decision making in all that you do, and it is an honor to serve you. So we will be reaching out to film a nice little video that will be shown at annual conference. This is embargoed. You're sworn to secrecy until Wednesday of next week. We need to notify there is a Board of the Year in a small district, middle-sized district, and large district categories. You are the 2022 Large School District Board of the Year. So thank you for your support.
Wow. So we'd be remiss not to say anything. First, thanks for coming in today, Tim. We do love working with you guys at WASDA, but even more than that, the staff is what makes this board who they are. And it starts with our superintendent. She's amazing. We appreciate everything you do, but the hours that you put in as a district is what makes our jobs easy, to be honest with you. We couldn't do anything we do up here without having an amazing staff. So I want to thank them publicly and say nothing happens without you. So thank you very much. And having a community that comes together like this today is why we do what we do. And that's why I jumped in with 2 feet, because I knew we can bring everybody together and make things happen in the right direction. And so it's an honor to be up here and receive that this year, but I really think it wouldn't happen without the staff we have. So thank you for that. Okay. Anybody else? Awesome. Thanks again, Tim.
Thank you.
That's awesome. All right, now we're going to break out to the community conversations. Amy, turn it back to you.
So today's community conversation focuses on success in the early years, increasing the percentage of children ready for kindergarten. Success in the early years is one of 5 goals in the North Thurston Public Schools Strategic Plan for 2022 through 28, and increasing the percentage of children ready for kindergarten is one outcome after that, under that goal. Today's conversation builds upon a 2018, remember 2018? Feels a long time ago now, community conversation around early learning, after which the school board issued a determination that we were on the right track and we should continue partnering with our community to increase access to high quality early learning programs. The format today will be 3 short 10-minute-ish presentations with table conversation in between every presentation. To make sure we make the most of our limited time, we won't have report out after table conversations. Instead, each table should take some notes, and there's a person at your table designated to do that, and those will be collected at the end of today's event. Okay, we are glad you're all here, and with that, we're going to get started with our first presentation from Gary Burris at the Child Care Action Council, an old colleague of mine. He's going to talk a little bit about the impact of the pandemic on early learning. So come on up, Gary.
Hello, everyone. Let me know, is this loud enough? So I'm Gary Burris, Child Care Action Council. We serve Thurston County, Grays Harbor, up the peninsula. I want to thank Superintendent Clemens, the school board, and Amy for the introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'd love to talk about early learning issues, and I'm going to start my timer so I don't go over. All right. So a little bit about us. Child Care Action Council has been around for 35 years. We promote early learning in the community. We are the professional development arm of Child Care Aware in the region. We also provide on-site consultation and coaching to child care facilities. So that includes licensed child care centers and licensed family homes. So you own a house, you can have a licensed child care in your house. We also operate the state preschool program, ECAP, and we have one of our sites here at Pleasant Glade. So we have 4 half-day classes at Pleasant Glade. And then we also provide a number of family services programs that I'll touch on in just a few minutes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about childcare generally, and then talk about the pandemic specifically and its impact on the childcare industry as well as on families. Childcare as a business really has low profit margins, and many have gone out of business recently. Many went out of business prior to the pandemic. Both centers and family homes are struggling right now, and there are some reasons that the business model is difficult for the industry. One is that there are a lot of regulations, and they're all really important, but like low ratios mean the amount of money you can bring in per classroom or home are lower than if you could have higher ratios. There are facility regulations that are costly to the owners, as well as their staffing costs. And childcare, even with the low pay that the childcare industry workers receive, the ability to make a profit as a business owner is still really difficult. One of the key issues is around ratios. So if you operate a childcare center and you have classrooms, your ratio for infants is 4 children to 1 adult. If you're operating a toddler room, it's 7 to 1, and the preschool is 10 to 1. So what we used to see 10, 20 years ago was that you'd have preschool rooms in the center, and those would basically subsidize the toddler and the infant room, because the infant rooms just can't charge, even though they're charging maybe $1,500 a month versus $800 for the preschool, even with that, they still aren't bringing in enough to make that a profitable enterprise. Now, we've seen more and more loss of those toddler rooms and infant rooms in the last 5 to 10 years, and one of the concerns that you may hear around transitional kindergarten is that it might pull some of the preschool kids from the licensed childcare into the transitional kindergarten. Now, there are certainly gaps in service out there for preschool kids as well as infants and toddlers, but the concern among the advocacy community and those who operate those businesses are, how do we do transitional kindergarten in a way that doesn't decimate the childcare industry? And that is a much longer conversation than I have time for today. But I'm happy to meet with anybody who wants to chat more about that or any other issue. So the impact of the pandemic. So as I mentioned, many sites have closed. Providers had to innovate to stay open. Some of them did outdoor childcare, for example. Some of them who maybe lost their younger children brought in school-age children and had class at their childcare facility. Local employers, I was talking to folks today, have done on-site childcare as an example. They've also had ability for people to work at home and Zoom if that's possible. Just a number of different things. Employers have done varied work hours. Maybe they changed the work hours from 8 to 5 to 5 to 2 so people could come home and be with their kids and adjust schedules. The other thing that happened was the legislature worked hard to support the child care industry, and there was a Safe Fair Start for Kids Act that was passed, and I'll chat a little bit about that in a moment, but there's just additional funding basically for a variety of aspects of child care. So what happened during the pandemic? Families suffered unprecedented levels of emotional and financial stress. There's just beginning the research, but some of the research is showing that there was a decline in home learning activities, and you can imagine if you're trying to help your child do school at home, they're not coming home and in the evening maybe reading because they're spending 4 hours trying to make them do their homework during the day. It's like, forget the extra reading after school, we're done for the day. And there's just a lot of stressors. So the children born during this pandemic have reduced verbal, motor, cognitive performance compared to prior to the pandemic. So huge issues for families and kids. We have industry challenges. I'm going to hit on affordability, access, and the workforce. And again, these were all issues prior to the pandemic, just gotten worse. So affordability, as I mentioned, the Fair Start for Kids Act, there was an increase in subsidies for families, and I'll touch a little bit more on that in a minute, but what you've got now are that if you have 3 people in your household, 60% of median income is a little over $51,000, you're eligible for a subsidy. That's a much higher income level than it used to be, and a family of 4 is a little over $61,000. But even with that, middle-class families don't get subsidies for childcare through most of the states. Some local initiatives have helped families into higher income levels, like in Seattle, for example. And what I use this description of statistics where, you know, maybe an average woman's height is 5'8", and you have this normal distribution, right? Some folks are shorter, the average is 5'8", some folks are taller. With early learning, you have really what's called a bimodal distribution, who can get into childcare. So if you are a lower income family, you're going to be able to get a subsidy, and so there's a hump over here of folks who can get into childcare. than a lot of folks who just can't afford it. Maybe they can afford a few hours a week for somebody to come in and maybe a neighborhood kid to care for the kids after school, or maybe they do an after-school child care because they can afford that, but they can't have maybe the full-time care they might need. And then you have families at the higher income levels who can afford child care all the time. So there's this gap in the middle that really is where a need is for focus and support. Again, access issues, even if you have funding, there's a lack of slots, and the cost is just very high. The average cost is for infant care at a family home is $800, over $1,000 at a child care center. That was several years ago with the data that we had from back in 2019. And this slide will show you a little bit about Thurston County. The colors on the left are 2015. The numbers of the bars on the left are 2015, on the right are 2020, and the darker color is the number of slots that are available of supply for 0 to 4-year-olds in this county, and the other side are the number of kids. Now, that gap isn't everyone that needs childcare, because a lot of parents or family members or a trusted other are staying home with children. So, but a good portion of that, maybe half or a third or 60% of that gap, is people who would like to have childcare, they want to have quality, and they can't afford it. As far as the workforce, it's another huge issue. The childcare industry pays very low wages, so there's high turnover. Some industries, some fast food, for example, might be able to pay a hiring bonus of $500, a couple dollars more an hour, and people who are struggling at those lower income levels are taking those other jobs, even though they might prefer to work with children. And business owners have trouble retaining those staff, so that's one key area that we want to focus on, is how do we compensate the workforce better. And one of the keys to children's healthy development in the early years is consistent caregiving. So time for some solutions. One thing we could do as a state would be if the government were to underwrite the cost of early education, similar to maybe what they do for higher education. Maybe not like K-12, maybe not pay 100%, but maybe pay a quarter or a third, or maybe even a little bit more than higher and pay half of the costs. And if we did that, we could both reduce the cost for parents as well as infuse enough money into the system to increase the pay for the workforce. So that's what I've been advocating for too long to remember. And then as part of that is subsidies moving into the middle class so that families can afford childcare. One thing that we do out of Child Care Action Council, and it's happening throughout the state, are provide some services to the industry. It's small, little helps, but it helps a little bit, right? So things like shared services, helping people who are in the industry maybe go together to find some support around payroll or accounting, or cooperative to buy food or to buy toys, that sort of thing. So some shared services among the industry. We also have resources, so maybe a parent handbook template, other kinds of things to save you some time and effort in keeping your business going. And then we also offer supports in terms of professional development, cohorts for people who are in the industry to come together and chat, talk about solutions, and work together. Just one thing we are able to do. As I mentioned earlier, some of the employers have done some really great things. So on-site childcare is an example, flexible hours, and then you can think of childcare as a benefit just like medical or vacation, and you might offer some options in a sort of a cafeteria plan and pick childcare, and maybe a little bit less in one of the other areas. That's another thing that some employers have done. And then as a state, we've made an investment, the legislature's made an investment in early childhood mental health. So kids came to childcare with social and emotional issues prior to the pandemic. They got a lot worse during the pandemic. I think the schools are seeing the same thing, whether it's acting out behaviors, disruptive, just don't have the social skills. And we have now 2 mental health consultants for our region, so that's not a lot of support, but they support, one supports Thurston, Mason, and Grace Harbor counties, and one supports Kitsap, Clallam, and Jefferson, and we're advocating for more of those staff. They go and work with the child care providers to help them, to work with the kids to help them understand how to support those children in their behavior and emotional development. And then another thing that we do, and we've worked with the Lacey Library, work with St. Peter's Hospital to offer play groups. So a lot of families who are home with their kids can also be isolated, whether it's a parent, another family member, or maybe a neighbor who's watching the younger child. This gives a chance for those kids and family members to come to a site, have some playtime together. The adults learn about child development, what's age appropriate. Maybe there's a developmental delay and the adult doesn't see it. The playgroup facilitator can help or guide them to the kinds of services that might help them and their child to make sure that they're developmentally, help them to get developmentally on track. So those playgroups are really helpful to kids and families. And then with that, I just summarize, we need more high-quality childcare. I think it should be considered a public good. I think of it as a public good, just like K-12 education, so we should be funding it. The industry needs support. It's an industry that is in crisis, and we just have to, I think, in collaborative ways, think about how to shore up that industry as well as provide other supports through the public agencies and philanthropy. And then, as I mentioned, the parents and families who aren't in the child care system can also use supports. So with that, I think it's time for your table conversations, and I'll turn it back over to Amy. Thank you so much for your time.
Next, we're going to have Dr. Diane Heckman, who is a wonderful early learning leader in our community. She's our Director of Early Learning. She's going to talk a little bit about what our district is doing and where we are right now. So I'm going to pass it over to Diane.
Thank you, Amy. All right. Goal 1 of the North Thurston Public Schools strategic plan is success in the early years. I don't know how many of you get to spend any time out there in preschool classrooms, so on all of your tables, I have scattered pictures. And these are actually pictures of our preschool students and our transitional kindergarten students, and they're students being curious. They're engaging in our early learning curriculum. They're practicing social skills, and they're expressing joy, which are all right in alignment with our early learning success in the early years goal. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll be sharing some data about our incoming kindergartners, the need for high-quality early learning opportunities in our community, and information regarding our early learning programs. We currently have 1,104 kindergartners enrolled in our kindergarten program here in North Thurston. Our registration process asks parents if their child had previously attended preschool, daycare, or a licensed in-home child care provider. 54% of our current kindergartners did not have these learning opportunities. Here are some of the results from a kindergarten teacher survey that was recently completed. Our experienced team of kindergarten teachers, many of which who have taught kindergarten for more than 10 years, describe the impacts they see with incoming students, student skills, and students' readiness. As you read through some of these teacher observations, you'll note some patterns. Students are less socially and emotionally ready, and students have more skill gaps. Although most of the comments had similar themes, I had to include the last bullet. FRK stands for Future Ready Kindergarten, and that is our transitional kindergarten program. It says, and this was a quote from one of our kindergarten teachers, "I have several FRK students in my class this year, and those students came in with great academic and social skills. It is evident that the FRK program is a huge asset." So I'm one of those kind of people who's always looking for the positive. So that really landed on me as both hopeful and inspirational. This slide shows the percentage of students entering kindergarten ready in 6 of 6 domains on the WaKids assessment. Our 2021 data indicated that only 45.5% of the students who enrolled in kindergarten in the fall of 2021 were ready in 6 of 6 domains. As you can see, in North Thurston Public Schools, our kindergartners are not entering with the same readiness as they were in 2018 or 2019. When we have this year's 2022 data, we'll be able to determine if we're trending in the right direction. Like other districts in our state, we have a lot of work to do as a district and as a community to support the families of our youngest students to ensure that they have access to high quality early learning experiences that will prepare them for kindergarten success. What I'd like to do next is actually share some of the early learning work that we're doing and focusing on here in North Thurston. Future Ready Kindergarten. During the 2021 year, our Future Ready Kindergarten started remote, returned in hybrid, and then to full participation. This involved a lot of flexibility on the part of parents and teachers and staff and students. When these students entered Future Ready Kindergarten, only 13% of them demonstrated readiness. However, when the same students entered kindergarten last fall, 53.3% of them demonstrated readiness in 6 of the 6 domains, which is really exciting for us, especially given all the impact of the pandemic. We have a Future Ready Kindergarten program at Lacey, Lydia Hawk, Seven Oaks, and Chambers Prairie Elementary Schools. We collaborate with area partners in coordinated enrollment efforts. So we find the children who haven't had any learning opportunities. And I think that's really one of the critical pieces that we really need to work as a community to help kids get to the programs that they need the most. We are participating in OSPI's Inclusive Transitional Kindergarten Program, and it is providing resources, curriculum, and professional development for our transitional kindergarten program. We have 4 early learning centers in North Thurston Public Schools, and we have a total of 20 early childhood special education classrooms that provide both AM and PM sessions. One of our early learning centers also houses 2 classrooms of ECAP. Gary mentioned that. They have both AM and PM, and they are run by the Child Care Action Council. In our early childhood special education programs, we provide preschool to students with disabilities, but also to non-identified students. We have integrated peers who are either tuitioned into our preschool programs or they have free tuition because they qualify as McKinney-Vento or foster care eligibility criteria. In addition to the ECAP, low-income students, including students with disabilities, are also served in Nisqually, Lacey Corporate, Hawks Prairie, and the Hawks Prairie Head Start programs. These Sound to Harbor early learning programs provide preschool and family supports to approximately 188 North Thurston families. We also have a partnership with Capital Forest Cooperative Preschool. I'm always excited when they're here. They are located at our Family Partnership Center in the district right now, and they provide programming for preschoolers 2 to 5 years of age. This program provides scholarships for some of our students with disabilities to attend this fully integrated preschool program. Our early learning childhood centers are actually located at Meadows, Mountain View, Seven Oaks, and Pleasant Glade elementary schools. Our preschool programs have really rapidly expanded during the last few years in response to increased child find referrals. 4 years ago, seems like a short 4 years ago when I joined North Thurston, we had 13 preschool teachers. We have 20 right now. And that may be expanding given the high referrals and child find rates that we're experiencing. The Early Learning Department provides child find screenings free of charge to families, and these screenings include hearing, vision, cognitive, speech and language, motor, adaptive, and social emotional development. All a family needs to do is reach out to our early learning department and we get that scheduled. These screenings let us know whether we need to evaluate the children to determine special education eligibility. We have an incredible team of early learning specialists here in North Thurston, and one of the things I'd like to just highlight about them is they did not miss a beat during the pandemic when it came to screening and evaluating kids. They jumped right into it, completing it virtually or in person as needed, and I think that's because of their passion for really knowing that accessing early intervention is critical for students who demonstrate delays in their development. We also partner with South Sound Parent to Parent, who provide early intervention services and to families and children birth to 3 years of age with developmental delays or disabilities. Currently, there are 150 infants and toddlers served every month, and there's typically another 50 that are in the referral and evaluation process at any one time. As these students approach their 3rd birthday, transition planning occurs and evaluations are completed by our preschool evaluation teams to determine if the child will be eligible for preschool Part B special education services. We have a 100% mandate to get those kids evaluated into services prior to their 3rd birthday. So, the pandemic, it impacted everybody, and so we needed to respond in preschool. To address the increasing learning needs of students resulting from the pandemic, school-based supplemental learning opportunities were developed. In Northwestern's, ours were called Power Up programs, and we had a Power Up program at our Mountain View Early Learning Center. The Mountain View preschool focused on increasing ability to play cooperatively with peers and to self-regulate. These goals were chosen because the teachers noticed in kids returning post-COVID from online learning or school closures were able to play on their own, but they didn't play so well together. And they didn't have the ability to regulate their emotions. So those were the goals that this team decided to focus on. And what they did is they brought the students in and gave them additional targeted instruction. And what we found was pre and post ratings indicated improved skills, and that was based both on parent observations and also teacher observations. So it was a highly successful intervention. Northwestern Public Schools also provided preschool summer camp recovery services, and these were 1 to 3 week AM or PM summer camps. This last summer we had 114 preschoolers attended those summer camps, and we made those really fun summertime themes. They were sand and water and plants, and our students with disabilities and those eligible under McKinney-Vento and foster care were engaged through the play-based, hands-on, fun learning opportunities. You see a couple pictures of the water play days on our slide up there. We are in year 4 of our Success in the Early Years Family Education Series. During 2021, we asked parents what they needed most, and so we adjusted our series to meet their needs. They were really concerned with their children's ability to learn self-regulation, so we used the Conscious Discipline program to help support them so that they could support their children. Last year, we shifted back to our focus on the WA Kids domains. The virtual workshops are held monthly, and the sessions provide not only valuable content, but a chance to really connect with other parents. There's great discussion. We share a lot of school readiness resources. We always have door prizes that are aligned with our session topics. So they get things that they can take immediately and do with their children. One of the other things that we made a very intentional practice in our early learning series was making sure families knew about resources and opportunities in the community. So we did a lot of letting them know what's happening in the Timberline Library, what's happening with the Hands-On Children's Museum, what is Kaleidoscope Play and Learn, just making sure that we got the word out there so that they were having more opportunities for their kids. Connecting our young families within our community is definitely one of our priorities. Early Learning also provided a monthly bilingual preschool story time. We called it Ready, Set, Read, and it included a read aloud in English as well as a second world language, a fun craft activity, and a snack to go. Thanks to our Sound Reading Foundation partnership. We had lots of free books that they donated that helped those that participated to expand their home libraries and have access to developmentally appropriate books. You can't believe how excited the kids were when they got to go to that book table and pick out books to take home. And then pick up a snack too, and they had a craft activity. I don't know really who enjoyed it more. Was it the parents that actually accompanied the kids or the children themselves? It was really a fabulous program. I'd like to just thank everybody for the opportunity to come talk today, to share some data about our kindergartners and some of the meaningful early learning work that we do. But I have to tell you, my heart was started to race a little bit just when we were going around the room and introducing who everybody was, because our theme in North Thurston this year is solution seekers. And every time people were announcing who they were, I was thinking, oh my gosh, we've got the solution seekers and they're right in this room. This is so exciting. I can't wait to see how we can partner together to really ensure that every child entering kindergarten in North Thurston Public Schools can enter with the readiness for success. So thank you for being part of that and being here today.
To have our final presentation of the day, and then we'll wrap up with a little bit more conversation. Troy Oliver, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Operations, as well as Kyle Cronk, who is President and CEO of South Sound YMCA, and Jen Burbidge, who is the Director of Parks and Parks, Culture, and Recreation for our city of Lacey. They're going to do a quick presentation for us on a new idea that is brewing. So I'll turn it over to Troy.
All right, thank you, Amy. I just want to check and see. Yep, clicker's working, perfect. So yeah, Kyle, Jen, and I have put together a presentation under the title of Combining Resources to Support Young Families. I want to get this group up to speed on some work that we've been doing with the YMCA, North Thurston Public Schools, and the City of Lacey on solving maybe a piece of this this problem today in terms of making sure that there's enough access for early childhood learning centers, as well as family play, and so on and so forth. So it's a unique partnership that we're embarking on. We're very excited about it, and we're going to kind of divide this up between the three of us to talk a little bit about the why. I'm going to hit that first. How and who could be part of this project that we're looking at, and then Jen's going to finish up with what conceptually we're looking at with some sketches from an architect as we've gone down the road to start this work. So first of all, the why. We currently have 3 learning spaces here in North Thurston Public School, one at Mountain View, like has been said before, Meadows and Pleasant Glade. We have an early learning program that's embedded into the school at Seven Oaks. We have expanded our early child education slots, and also partnering with parent and preschool co-ops to include providing a site for Head Start. So that's where we're at, but we saw that there is a pretty significant gap in terms of what's being provided and what the actual need is in our community. And of course, this is connected to Goal 1, success in the early years for the strategic plan. Some of the additional why, we know there are gaps in early learning. We know that there are, called a childhood desert. There are not enough spots and places to serve students. We know that COVID-19 has significantly exacerbated this issue. Trying to take a multi-agency approach to get this done through creative partnerships. Again, as we mentioned before, with Lacey Parks as well as the YMCA. So I want to turn it over to Kyle and talk a little bit about the how and the who.
Thank you. Well, welcome. Thanks for letting us present today. I don't really know how to use this thing, so do you have a tip here? Got it. All right, great. Well, first of all, who wouldn't want to partner with the best school board on the planet? Huh? Round of applause for that? That is crazy. And what we were talking about at our table was that this problem doesn't get solved by one agency. This is a multi-level, multi-community engagement project, and that's why I was super excited to be able to connect with the North Thurston School District, City of Lacey. There's going to be a medical partner. So really, this was really about dreaming. How could we look at early learning and making sure that every kid that wants and needs, we know that everybody needs an early learning experience, but every child deserves it. So how do we make that happen? And so that's where the brainstorming happened. I'm not going to read every slide there, but you can see this is on the, what was the name of the old baseball field? Bucknell. So it's on that site. It's an obvious, I mean, thousands of people drive by this all the time. It's kitty corner to the rack, so it screams, hey, let's do something here for young families and kids. And when we talk about the innovation in terms of the partnership, so imagine a 70,000 square foot building that Jen will get into. Some of it is dedicated specifically to early learning, and some of it is dedicated to specifically for indoor play. How many people know that it rains in the state of Washington essentially from, I would have said October, but let's move that to November. And let's go November to July 5th. Right? Isn't that about when it rains? And now think if you're a young family and you want to come indoors and play with your kids. The other thing that we talked about at our table incessantly was about play, fun, and engagement. I mean, that's essentially the type of facility that we're building, and it's all encompassing. And Jen's going to show you all the cool pictures. So thanks for letting us be here. I mean, this, again, this doesn't happen without a dedicated collaborative effort. So it's not just the Y, it's not just the school district, not just the city, it's everybody. Thanks.
I'm Jen Burbage, and I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation as well. So appreciate you all being here and including the city as a part of this. So what are we thinking? We're thinking that there needs to be some innovative solutions to these challenges. There needs to be kind of thinking outside the box a little bit. And so considering the unique learning needs of those ages 3 to 5, I mean, we talked a lot about fun and play, but really, you know, they learn through play, really. So that's super important. Also in and outside the classroom. So this type of a campus would have some amenities inside and outside. It's important for kids to learn outdoors. I probably don't have to tell some of the people in this room with the outdoor learning program. So that's super important. Family wellness. I mean, how important is that? We talk about a lot in Parks and Recreation and Culture, just the importance of the physical fitness component of wellness and the preventative aspects that can have and the healthcare cost savings in the long term. So starting to think about these things early on and with the whole family too. We don't just want the child to be well, we want the whole family to be well. Aquatic safety is super important. It's so fun to play in the pool, but there's really a very important safety component. We have a lot of water that we live around, and so kids really need opportunities to learn at least the basics for swimming, for educational component. Indoor spaces would be items that were desired by the community. And we've done a bunch of outreach that I'll touch on in a minute, but also looking at the best use of this North Thurston Public Schools owned property. As Kyle mentioned, a great spot for family amenities and opportunities for learning. And in the past, you know, it's been a space that the community has been able to access, and so that was really important in looking at innovation and how do we move forward with this space. So that it is accessible for wellness and physical fitness to the community. Also important to extend the school day, and that's, as we know, kids are learning all day long, right? Not just when they're in the classroom. So super important to look at that aspect as well. Here's some renderings that have been put together. And so these are in the concept format at this point. And you can see just the gathering spaces in a facility like this. And so spaces for families to come and learn and grow together. This one, you can see an outdoor spray park. And so some of the things that we've been doing outreach to the community pretty extensively in 2021 and also this year in 2022. And in fact, I see several members of our outreach team here today. And so, you know, you can see some of the fruits of your efforts here in asking people what they want to see. And so a lot of the feedback that we're getting is indoor facilities, to Kyle's point. It rains a lot here. What if there were a place that for an indoor playground? indoor pool, and then we've heard a lot the outdoor spray park. So these are the things, that we're hearing from the community. So this is an example of what a spray park could look like at the site, outdoor. And then we have a rendering of or a sketch, I should say, of the indoor type of play facilities. Families want play features. The community so appreciates the North Thurston Public Schools swimming pools that are available during certain hours. Of course, the students come first. The city does plan programs during the time after the swim teams and the school is done with the use for the day. But families are wanting, opportunities for maybe a lazy river or a play structure, in addition to, the swim opportunities. This sketch shows what the exterior of the building could look like. And then this shows that indoor play structure, so indoor playground, rather than like a typical gymnasium. There could be opportunities for climbing, and it could be set to, different age groups and different levels, because again, serving the entire family, geared toward the early learning, but also serving the entire family. So next steps, we will be continuing community conversations on the youth and family needs in Lacey, engaging other partners. The military, Lacey has the highest number of military families in Thurston County, not just Thurston County, but in the lower South Sound area. Other services that families needs, the Economic Development Council has been at the table as well, and then any other essential partners that could serve the whole entire family. With the outreach and the findings and recommendations that we've received, and then also going back out to the community this past year in 2022 and really solidifying the priorities that the community wants. Our next steps in Lacey Parks Culture and Recreation is to update the Parks Comprehensive Plan with the, some of the findings and recommendations, and then reporting that back to our community and our city council. So we'll be working on that in the coming year, and then here's a big one: reviewing potential funding sources. So what are the buckets? What are the buckets for funding, and what type of support could this collaboration pull in from a lot of different types of funding sources? And that's about it. Back to you, Troy.
I don't know if Amy, you want to jump in here, but we're to the questions, and if you advance it one slide, the questions will also be up there as well. So, okay, all right, go ahead and have a discussion at your table.
Okay, I'd hate to do this. I hate to end the conversations, but we are getting at 1:30, and I want to respect everybody's time today. So we do invite you to stick around if you want to afterwards and continue some of the conversations. But also, we want to thank you guys for coming out today. Not only is it fun to be in this room. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. We got to raise your hand so we can have you quiet down for a second. We just want to express our gratitude for you guys coming out today. Some people say it takes a village to raise our children. This shows that it takes more than a village. It takes a community. We're a lot bigger than a village in this area. But it's been exciting to be here today. I'm extremely motivated from what I heard today. But more than that, I'm honored to be in this room with you guys today. The organizations and the community members we have here today is why we have a great area where our kids can grow up. Working together is what makes this community so great. So, like I said to Deb earlier, we are very, very fortunate to have this kind of community. And all of you today are contributors to that. And the parents in this community are very lucky to have you guys in this community for that. So we do have some extra salads. Please take them home. If not, the staff has to eat them. And they've had plenty of salad, so they don't want it. Other than that, thank you guys for coming out. And we do look forward to what comes out of this conversation. We'll have a recap on Thursday, a debrief for everybody, and then we'll share that with you guys as well. So please, like I said, continue to talk if you want, but we do have to respect everybody's time. It is 1:30, so appreciate you guys and be safe. Travel safe.